How do you protect yourself from the radiation from the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident? Is it safe to visit Japan?
That's a political question. I'm not going on my way to visit Japan. Radiation stays around for a long time, not for a week or a year, but for years. All the fish in the Pacific Ocean has been tested for radiation, and pretty much all the fish that they're catching is highly radiated. Unfortunately, the sea vegetables, kelp, nori, and so forth, from the Pacific are also found to be very high in radiation. So that's a big deal. That's one level. If we look at another level, big picture, radiation creates free radicals. And so we want to have more antioxidants in our system. And, so that's another piece. And the third piece, which is really happening inside the mitochondria, inside the nucleus of the cell, is that there's a lot more free radicals. And so I use a particular homeopathic radiation neutralization that specifically rebalances the nucleus of the cell to undo the free radicals. And so that's something I take. Most people need, it's 12 drops a day, 3 bottles worth. If you're living in Japan, I usually see 5 bottles, so you do 5 bottles worth and pretty much clears it. So we can protect ourselves against that nuclear radiation. Another thing we need to do is eat lower on the food chain. Why is that? Well, the research shows that 95 to 96% of the pesticides and herbicides and really radiation is higher up in the food chain, meaning animal tissue. And so, okay, that's clear. So eat lower on the food chain. So by being vegan and live food vegan, we're minimizing that. Now, we also did research at the Tree of Life with greenhouse. And the greenhouse, we found it was up to 5 times lower radiation because I have a lab that analyzes radiation. So being protected from the air minimizes the radiation exposure. So we look at red newt, we look at the different levels of eating lower in the food chain. We look at increasing the amount of antioxidants to neutralize the radiation. Clearly not having fish, but I hate to say it, but even the sea vegetables, kelp, nori, and so forth from the Pacific, I don't do. We try to get it from like Maine coast sea vegetables, the Atlantic Ocean. So those are some of the things we do in general that everybody can do.
Is it important to take green vegetable or sprout juice each day? What about wheatgrass? And can't you just eat lots of greens instead of juicing?
Well, you can. Okay. And at the other level, 1 or 2 green juices a day is very concentrated and very good for cleansing and rejuvenating. Now, I also found, this is the wheatgrass we are growing, which is very rich, that actually raises your blood sugar. So actually, in the immediate healing time in the 3-week program, I recommend people don't take wheatgrass because it's so rich. And it's often very sweet, at least what we're growing is very sweet, which has to do with soil preparation. So, but the green juices are very potent cleansers. And they have lots of energy in them. So I do recommend 1 or 2 glasses a day of that.
How effective are chemo and radiation? When should they be used and when should something else be used instead?
Well, I'm very hesitant to make too much of a comment because, again, I refer them all to Hippocrates. But generally in the literature, what I see is it may be 5 to 10% effective in general. Some things like for leukemias, Hodgkin's disease, You may get a higher percentage of success with chemotherapy. Those are the big ones, 40, 50%. So that's one level. The downside is they tend to really undermine the immune system. So it's relative. Leukemias, Hodgkin's disease. The good news is they're also very, very healable by natural approaches, which doesn't damage your immune system in the process. So I'm always going to go for that natural way. I'm not, I say, an expert in it, but chemotherapy for many problems is 5 to 10% effective. And we're saying for 5 years, but once you've done that, you affect the body negatively in another way. So it, at some certain level, it may even make you more prone to cancer somewhere else. So I generally don't recommend chemotherapy, or radiation because of all the other problems that are associated with it. But again, I refer them to doctors.